How important is marriage to God? Let's discover God's desire for marital faithfulness. Let's look at Jesus' teachings on marriage and divorce in Mark 10. Some Pharisees came and tried to trap him with this question: should a man be allowed to divorce his wife? Like hostile reporters, the Pharisees tried to trap Jesus with a loaded question about divorce relating to Deuteronomy 24 verse 1. There in Perea, the Pharisees and Herod maintained a political relationship, and John the Baptist was beheaded by Herod over a similar question. Ideally, a man and woman will be one. Moses permitted divorce. Ezra encouraged divorcing pagan wives. Joseph contemplated divorcing Mary, suspecting unfaithfulness. Paul permitted limited divorce, but encouraged people not to divorce an unbelieving spouse. Yet Jesus discouraged divorce. Today, the exception has become the rule. Jesus answered them with a question. What did Moses say in the law about divorce? Well, he permitted it, they replied. He said a man can give his wife a written notice of divorce and send her away. But Jesus responded, he wrote this commandment only as a concession to your hard hearts. Divorce was a concession to hard hearts? Sound familiar? This is an example of where Jesus is more conservative on an issue than our world. Jesus holds marriage in much higher regard than we do. Mark's emphasis left out the exceptions given in Matthew 5 and 19. But God made them male and female from the beginning of creation. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one, since they're no longer two, but one. The creation narrative teaches us the importance of marriage as intended from the beginning. Two become one flesh. Gender bias becomes irrelevant when two grow together as one. Jesus reminds us all that the exception is the exception, but the rule is a decisive no to divorce and a confirmation of marital fidelity. Let no one split apart what God has joined together. Are divorced and remarried couples in our midst worse sinners than others? No, we're all sinners saved by grace. Adultery is a sin against the other marriage partner. Jesus brought a deeper understanding that a lustful look or inappropriate touch are adultery in the heart. By that high standard, we've all committed adultery too many times to count. Later, when he was alone with his disciples in the house, they brought up the subject again. He told them, whoever divorces his wife and marries someone else commits adultery against her. And if a woman divorces her husband and marries someone else, she commits adultery. The law gave an example of divorce. But what was the original intent at creation? Jesus makes a call to fidelity and condemns adultery. Adultery is an act that a husband like Herod could also commit against his wife. Suppose a man marries a woman, but she doesn't please him. Having discovered something wrong with her, he writes a document of divorce. Jesus explains that a woman could divorce a man just as much as a man could divorce a woman. But he states that divorce was never intended from the beginning. The basic cause of divorce is our hard-heartedness. One day, some parents brought their children to Jesus so he could touch and bless them. But the disciples scolded the parents for bothering him. When Jesus saw what was happening, he was angry with his disciples. He said to them, "Let the children come to me. Don't stop them. For the kingdom of God belongs to those who are like these children. I tell you the truth, anyone who doesn't receive the kingdom of God like a child will never enter it." Then he took the children in his arms and placed his hands on their heads and blessed them. Jesus teaches us that the kingdom of God also belongs to children. They're important church members. Jesus said not to forbid them. We ought to take children up in the church's arms and bless them, copying Jesus. Children picture the kingdom of heaven. They gleefully accept the gift of God. We ought to receive God's kingdom in the same way as a child. God's intent was that a man and woman remain in love, not hating each other, but becoming lifelong best friends, and potentially with children. We learn from our children to receive the kingdom of God with glee and humility.